2 days ago, the President of the United States made a move that tells you everything about the state of your grocery bill. He announced that 300,000 metric tons of ground beef will enter the country over the next 3 months with no tariff, alongside a claim that it will sell 25% below current market prices. Within hours, the loudest opposition was not the other party. It was cattle ranchers and Republican senators from cattle states publicly telling the White House it was making a mistake. When a president famous for tariffs starts carving holes in his own tariff wall to get hamburger prices down before the midterms, something upstream has gone badly wrong. Here is what: America is running low on cattle, and there is no fast way to fix it. The numbers first. The American cattle herd is at its smallest since 1951, when the country had 155 million fewer people. Retail beef prices rose 27% in the 2 years through May. Ground beef is up 12.4% in just the last year. Beef roasts nearly 14%. And the pressure is not letting up. The USDA projects beef climbing another 10.1% in 2026, with its uncertainty band stretching as high as 18%. Live cattle prices actually rose faster than store prices, 37% over the same window, which is a detail worth holding on to. The price explosion is not starting at the supermarket. It is starting at the ranch gate, where the animals themselves have become the scarce asset. Beef is quietly becoming a luxury good, and it happened in about 30 months. This shortage was not an accident of one bad year. It was a decade in the making. Years of drought across cattle country shrank the pastures cows graze on. Feed costs spiked. Faced with expensive feed and dying grass, ranchers did the economically rational thing. They sold animals rather than feed them, including the breeding cows that produce future calves. That is called herd liquidation, and it is the agricultural version of eating your seed corn. Each individual rancher made a sensible decision. Collectively, they sold off the machine that makes cows. Add a nasty surprise at the border: a flesh-eating parasite called the New World screwworm spreading in Mexico, which forced the US to halt Mexican cattle imports that normally supplement the herd, and the supply side simply broke. Here is the cruelest mechanic in this whole story, the part that makes cattle different from any other commodity. To rebuild a herd, ranchers must hold back young female cattle, heifers, from slaughter so they can become breeding cows. But every heifer held back is beef that does not go to market this year. So the act of fixing the shortage makes the shortage worse before it makes anything better. Then biology sets the clock. A retained heifer needs roughly 2 years before her first calf, and that calf needs another 2 before it is beef. That is why the American Farm Bureau says meaningful price relief may not arrive until 2028 at the earliest. You can print money, you can lower interest rates. You cannot speed up a cow. The Federal Reserve has no tool for gestation. Now add the policy layer. Imported beef enters the US through a quota system. Inside each country's quota, the tariff is trivial, about 4.4 cents per kilogram. Beyond the quota, it jumps to 26.4%, which on $7 a kilo beef is roughly $1.80 per kilo of pure tariff. That wall was built to protect American ranchers, and broader tariffs on countries like Brazil, one of the biggest beef exporters on earth, raised it higher. Which brings us back to the announcement 2 days ago. The 300,000-ton carve-out is the administration conceding, in policy form, what one headline put perfectly: a tariff on beef is a tax on America's love of hamburgers. When domestic supply is this short, the wall stops protecting ranchers and starts taxing eaters, and the eaters vote. So why are ranchers furious about cheaper beef? Listen to the logic. Nebraska's 2 Republican senators, Deb Fischer and Pete Ricketts, both came out against the plan within hours. Fischer's version: we all want lower grocery prices, but flooding the market with foreign beef hurts our livestock industry and undermines the long-term solution, growing the US cattle herd. Decoded: ranchers are finally being paid record prices after a brutal decade, and those record prices are exactly what funds rebuilding the herd. Undercut prices with imports now, and ranchers lose the incentive to retain heifers, which delays the rebuild, which extends the shortage. The White House is trading a lower burger price today for a slower recovery tomorrow. That is not a conspiracy theory. That is just the incentive math. Now follow the money through the supply chain because it is being redistributed violently. At the bottom, cow-calf ranchers, the people who own the mother cows, are having the best run of their lives. Oklahoma State economist Daryl Peel puts it plainly. They are making record returns. Feeder calf prices around $437 per hundredweight are projected to push toward $467 by early 2037. But everyone above them in the chain buys those expensive animals, and they are getting crushed. Feedlots pay record prices for calves and pray the fattened animal sells for more. Meat packers are worse off. Tyson Foods lost $138 million on its beef segment in a single quarter, with volumes down nearly 16%, and its CEO admitted beef is not performing, quote, "and we're not pretending otherwise." Scarcity flipped the whole chain upside down. Will the carve-out work? Partially, and only where it aims. Imported lean beef mostly becomes ground beef, so the move targets exactly the product Americans buy most. And the 25% discount claim, if it materializes, lands on burgers, not ribeyes. But do the scale math. 300,000 metric tons over 3 months arrives in a country that consumes roughly that much beef every week or two. It shaves the edge off one product category for 1 quarter. It does not touch the drought, the screwworm, the herd size, or the 2 to 4 year biological rebuild. And every month of suppressed prices leans on the rancher incentive we just described. It is a painkiller prescribed in an election year for a disease whose cure is time. Painkillers have their place. They are just not cures. Here is where the machine economy walks into the feedlot. Precision livestock farming, AI applied to raising animals, is becoming a real industry at exactly the moment every animal is precious. A market of about $2.7 billion last year, projected at $3.45 billion this year, growing nearly 28% annually. The tech is concrete, not hype. Computer vision systems watch herds continuously and flag lameness or illness days before a human would spot it. Algorithms tune feed rations, the single biggest cost in raising cattle. Sensors track breeding windows and calving. When one dead calf costs you north of $400 per hundredweight in lost value, software that cuts death loss by even a few percent pays for itself, which is why Microsoft, Amazon, Cargill, and Intel are all circling the pasture. But notice the shape of what AI does here, because it is the honest version of the AI fixes everything story. Algorithms can cut waste, catch disease early, optimize feed, and squeeze more beef from the same herd. What they cannot do is compress the 2 years from heifer to calf to slaughter weight. AI attacks the margins of the cattle cycle, not the clock at the center of it. And there is a quieter effect. Sensor networks and vision systems have fixed costs that a 50,000-head feedlot can amortize and a 50-cow family ranch cannot. So the technology quietly favors the big operators in an industry already down to its smallest herd in 75 years. The machine economy's oldest pattern, efficiency tools that concentrate the industry they optimize, is coming for one of America's oldest industries. The honest caveats. The USDA's own forecast range is wide, 2.8 to 18.3%. So next year's beef inflation could be mild or brutal. The import carve-out could dent ground beef prices more than skeptics expect. And the 25% below market claim is a political commitment, not a market mechanism. So watch whether it survives contact with actual supply chains. Ranchers could retain heifers faster than history suggests if prices hold. Demand could crack because at some price Americans do switch to chicken, and Tyson's chicken segment is already the profitable one. And a reminder from every commodity cycle ever. Today's record prices are planting the seeds of tomorrow's glut. The cattle cycle has boomed and busted for a century. The question is never if it turns. It is when. Step back. One grocery item now connects a 75-year supply low, a drought, a parasite, a tariff wall with a president-shaped hole in it. Senators breaking with their own party, record fortunes at the ranch gate, 9-figure losses at the packing plant, And venture-scale AI money watching cows through cameras. Beef is where inflation stops being a statistic and becomes politics, because everyone sees the price, every week, at eye level in the meat aisle. So watch three things: whether ground beef actually drops this fall, whether heifer retention shows up in next year's herd count, and whether the 2028 relief date slips. And if you want the other half of your household bill story, how the AI build-out got into your electricity price the same way biology got into your burger, watch our episode on why your power bill is bidding against Microsoft. Same machine, different aisle.